We'll begin with the first negative rebuttal speaker, Ms. Nicole Mesher, who will be rebutting Ms. Carolyn Tracy. Thank you.
Honorable Chairman, esteemed colleagues, and worthy opponents, I am here today to rebut Ms. Carolyn Tracy's argument on the topic of healthcare. In late March of this year, there will be a 5.5-hour oral argument by the Supreme Court debating whether or not Congress has the power to regulate interstate commerce, punishing the inactivity of not buying insurance. An hour of this argument will be dedicated to the issue whether Obamacare's expansion of Medicaid of states that is incompatible with federalism. Medicaid is so coercive of states, and spending on Medicaid is approximately 40% of all federal funds given to states and 7% of all federal spending. The increase in its cost at the end of this decade is expected to reach $434 billion. This cost is projected to rise 7.9%, faster than even Medicare's 6.9%. This cost would cost most states billions of dollars. For example, 26% of Florida's budget goes for Medicaid. If it lost federal funds, it would require 60% of its tax revenue to maintain today's pre-Obamacare benefits. The Congressional Budget Office has determined that the law will, quote, reduce the amount of labor used by the economy by roughly 0.5%, unquote, an estimate that adds up to roughly 650,000 jobs lost. A study by the National Federation of Independent Businesses, the NFIB, found that an employer mandate alone could lead to the elimination of 1.6 million jobs before 2014. The bill raises taxes of almost $500 billion over the next 10 years. The bill will impose tax of $2,000 per employee on employers with more than 50 employees that are not covered by health insurance. So Obamacare leaves the agonizing choice. Allow expanded Medicaid to devastate your budgets or abandon the poor. Let's not make that choice. Eliminate the problem. Obama does not deserve to be reelected in the 2012 presidential elections. Thank you.
Next, we will hear our first affirmative rebuttal speaker, Ms. Alyssa Swindell, who will be rebutting Ms. Erin Molinowski.
Honorable judges, esteemed colleagues, worthy opponents, and Mr. Chairman, President Barack Obama deserves to be re-elected based on his Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. The Admiral Ms. Erin Molinowski stated that Americans will not be able to afford Obamacare, although this is not the case. Starting in 2014, middle-class families can save up to $2,300 annually to purchase their own private health care through health insurance exchanges. And by 2019, premium growth rates will slow and add about $2,000 to the average family savings. Ms. Erin Molinaro also stated that the total cost could reach up to $6 trillion and increase insurance premiums by 55 to 85%. According to the Wall Street Journal, Obamacare will cost around $1.3 trillion. These estimates, based on models and complicated mathematical formulas, show no consistency and often have serious problems. The worthy opponent, Ms. Erin Molinaro, stated that Obamacare will destroy any company incentive to create new jobs, but Obama's Affordable Care Act will actually make it easier for small businesses to purchase health insurance. Currently, more than 4 million small businesses are already eligible for a tax credit to help pay for health care premiums. And in 2019, the credit will increase even further to cover 50% of premiums. Furthermore, Ms. Molinaro's claim that Obamacare is constitutional is a subjective argument because each individual interprets the Constitution differently. As for Catholic institutions, 98% of Catholic women will have used birth control at some point in their lives. If virtually all Catholic women use some form of contraceptive, then why is it up to the select few who control the institution to decide what beliefs to force on their students and employees? Clearly, Obama's thorough and revolutionary Affordable Care Act could be a breakthrough in medical, social, and political history. Honorable judges, I invite you to envision a country where everyone receives the care they need, preventable diseases are treated, and taxes are spent in a cost-effective manner. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear our second negative rebuttal speaker, Mr. Brett Carrier, who will be rebutting Mr. Aaron Brown. Chairman, honorable judges, esteemed colleagues, and opponents. According to a CNN special report, several of Obama's foreign policies have contributed to a shaky and unstable economic future, similar to that of 2008. When Mr. Obama was elected president, when Mr. Obama's primary plan to revitalize the economy was fraught with complications and individual oversight, according to the Huffington Post, as much as $55 billion was devoted to the project, has been designated as fraudulently consumed throughout the course of the project. Had the act been more carefully structured and had better oversight, this enormous amount of wasted capital could have been better used to further the Recovery Act or be used in other struggling areas of the economy. According to Fox News, many of the new job openings that Mr. Obama has created are low-skilled, low-paying jobs that do not suit the needs of well-educated, intelligent Americans. Examples of the most common newly created jobs are nursing aides, record keepers, restaurant wait staff, and clerical workers. This plan, Mr. Obama contends, has saved approximately 1 million blue-collar positions, which has also left the taxpayer with a $79.9 billion bill. In addition to rewarding an irresponsibly run and criminally corrupt industry, the nearly $80 billion handout could have been put to use creating jobs on a small business level, as well as revitalizing other impoverished areas of the shaky economy. Denying an open checkbook to monster auto companies would have set the moral standard for the future of Mr. Obama's economy. Making a statement by not allowing auto giants to access billions worth of the taxpayers' money would have, in the long term, set the stage for a moral and rule-bound economy in which business leaders would operate with the understanding that no matter how powerful, each is responsible for their actions and the economic future of their various enterprises. Obama has insisted that Chrysler has paid back every cent it owed from the bailout it was given in 2008. In reality, the week reports that as much as $1.3 billion is still outstanding in Chrysler's loan. The successful confirmation by the BBC of this enormous discrepancy in Chrysler's bailout restitution brings into focus Mr. Obama's ability to legitimately control our nation's finances. According to Mr. Brown, we cannot be afraid of a president who will spend a bit of money on revitalizing our economy. But we should be afraid of a president who will spend more now than a healthy economy can pay back in the future. Thank you. We will now hear our second affirmative rebuttal speaker, Ms. Ellie Watts, who will be rebutting Mr. Scott Blackmore.
Honorable judges, Mr. Chairman, esteemed colleagues, and worthy opponents, I would like to speak to you all today about the environment. First, I will address some concerns my opponent talked to you about, and then I will address all the achievements which Obama has made regarding green energy. Firstly, there's the matter of offshore drilling. The efforts we have made to increase offshore drilling and the availability of natural gas have been important steps towards decreasing our dependency on foreign oil. This is especially important because so much of the oil we are using comes from the Middle East. The United States ranks #1 as an oil-using nation, while our top oil-producing nations are Russia and Saudi Arabia. In order to decrease our dependency until long-term green energy kicks in, we must use the resources that are already available to us now. My worthy opponent has been quick to criticize Obama for any shortfalls in environmental policy, but has failed to consider the many triumphs he has had in green energy. Obama helped push through a $60 billion bill towards green energy development. This includes $2 billion already spent on solar power so far. Furthermore, incentives are now provided to farmers who use renewable energy and are more energy efficient. Grants are also being made to encourage energy efficient building codes throughout the nation. In Washington, Obama set the example for America by purchasing fuel-efficient, American-made fleet of vehicles for the federal government. And most convincingly, there has been a wind power growth of 39% due to the government stimulus. These are just a few of the countless achievements Obama has made in the field of green energy. Finally, the claim that my worthy opponent made that Obama was absent during the global debate on climate change is false. In 2009, Obama traveled to Copenhagen, to the Copenhagen Conference on Climate Change. His involvement there would hardly be described as an absence. In fact, Obama's presence would help to make the conference an important landmark for the future of environmental reform. Thank you.
Next, we will hear from our third negative rebuttal speaker, Mr. Devon Williams, who will be rebutting Ms. Allie Fair.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, honorable judges, esteemed colleagues, and worthy opponents. I'm here to rebut Ms. Farron's constructive argument of Obama's domestic policies. To begin, the third affirmative speaker bluntly claims that President Obama understands that America has to out-educate the rest of the world to be competitive in the global economy. But to achieve this economic dominance, he plans to spend without question solely to attempt to broaden the American pool of innovation. Citing Obama's No Child Left Behind Good morning, Mr. Chairman, honorable judges, esteemed colleagues, and worthy opponents. I'm here today to rebut Ms. Farron's constructive argument of President Obama's domestic policy. To begin, Ms. Farron stated that President Obama understands that America has to out-educate the rest of the world to be competitive in the global economy. But to achieve this goal, President Obama will spend money solely to broaden the American pool of innovation. Stating part of his educational reform comes with the relief of No Child Left Behind policy, a policy set up by former President George W. Bush that has shown that it is not successful. A question that's been arised and never answered is, where would this relief come from? Obama has never answered that question. Another plan, not stated, but part of his educational reform, is Obama's higher education plan. A plan that throws money now and asks questions later. Said plan creates an opportunity tax credit, making higher levels of education virtually affordable for most Americans. $4,000 of every college education is virtually free, and two-thirds of tuition costs are covered for public schools, and all community college will be essentially completely free. In short, we have to expect, based on past experience, that if Obama's tax credit plan were to go through, colleges and universities would spike their tuition costs as done previous history, and as they're known to do. And due to this, the market does not discipline this type of failure. And because of this, due to the lack of transparency, instead universities retain their unlimited pricing power. Secondly, Ms. Farron stated that the president has taken steps towards addressing climate change and green energy. Although my opponent has stated the EPA understands Obama's watch proposed national standards for mercury, coal, and various other harmful emissions, his proposal for offshore drilling and fracking, or stated by my colleague Scott Blackwell, becomes just as harmful.